Okay, I have 5 cards for my notes, and I will begin. Have you ever felt invisible? I have. For the first 15 years of my life, I felt invisible. Until 1977, my freshman year of high school, I was taught how to put on a mime face by my theater teacher, and I went out in front of my entire school and performed for the very first time. After that performance, I was hooked on the art of silent mime. I was no longer invisible. And my name is Gina Walrab, and I would like to share with you tonight about the history of mime, the grammar of mime, and the usefulness of mime in everyday life. In the drama review of 2017, theater expert Sally Liebert wrote about Etienne Decroux, saying that mime is a silent art that makes the invisible visible. Mime's not just for performers. In fact, it's nonverbal communication that we use every day. But the art of mime took on a technique over the years and the centuries. Mime's always been around, and because of the nonverbal communication. But in the New World Encyclopedia in 2018, Funk and Wagnalls wrote about Joseph Grimaldi, and he started performing at the age of 2 years old. He excelled at stage buffoonery, and he really set a standard for the modern clown. He was a very good pantomimist. Nye Edward in 2014 in the New Theatre Quarterly, he was a writer about the 18th century stage in France, wrote about Jean Gaspard de Breu, who actually popularized the character of the Perrault, a romantic character, and had clarity of expression. De Marinis in 2017, a performing artist, wrote in the drama review about Etienne Decroux, who really was the master mime and created corporal mime. It was very abstract, and he was very dedicated to learning about the body movement showing expression. Jean-Louis Barrault was one of Etienne Decroux's students, and he played in a movie representing Jean Gaspard, and you can see that to this day. It's in a movie called The Children of Paradise, and Decroux played his father in that movie. So Marcel Marceau came along and was a student of Decroux, and he was somebody who started performing at the age of 6 years old. He started to see silent films for the first time, and he was inspired by Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton and Laurel and Hardy. And so he took what he learned from Decroux and from silent film and created a character that he named Bip. And he toured the world for many centuries, just delighting people with stories about Bip and his adventures with the world. Marcel Marceau started a school, and many artists started to learn the art of mime. And one artist who was inspired by Marcel Marceau is Michael Jackson. He learned the moonwalk and was inspired by the Walking Against the Wind by Marcel Marceau. Next, I'd like to talk to you about the grammar of mime and making individual movement entertaining. Mime is really the art of isolation, and there is a book called Exploring Mime that there was a book review written in the School Library Journal by Nancy Minaldi. She was a writer, author, and this book gives a lot of technique, and the student, Mark Stolzenberg, he was a student of Marcel Marceau, and he had this amazing book that fell into my hands in 1980 so that I could learn more about mime myself and be able to teach the techniques that are in there. Different techniques that we would see, we would start talking about the eyes and how they move, facial expression, eyebrows and eyes, and how to express emotion with the entire body, and illusions, and climbing ladders, and pulling ropes, and walking against the wind, and doing the robot. Just different types of techniques, but the true mime comes from within, and it's the attitude and the expression and the emotion that help to tell the story. Lastly, I'd like to talk to you about everyday life and how mime is useful in our expression and the way that we communicate. There is a study done that showed that people of different cultures read expression similarly. So right here, these are anger, fear, happy, and sad. They had actors portray these emotions in a mime type of performance, and people that didn't speak the same language interpreted those expressions the same. And I found that fascinating, that we read expressions similarly around the world. And that's why mime can work so beautifully as a performance, because you can understand it no matter what language you speak. There is a study right now about wearing masks and how it's taking away some of our expression. And there's ways that we can compensate for that by using techniques that we learn in mime, with the raising of the eyebrows, and when we smile behind a mask, to really smile, because your eyes smile through your expression. And using shoulders, we can use those when we're expressing ourselves, and just compensating by exaggerating more of our movement and hand gestures. So you can put your hand on your heart, like when you're feeling compassion, like, oh, I'm so sorry. There's also this new thing called the camera, Zoom. Well, it's not new to us, but having school or meetings in a format like this, we can use the illusion of looking into the camera so that people feel that they're being looked at and they don't feel invisible. So those are just some of the few techniques that we can use. Another thought before I go, just the nodding of your head and smiling, showing people that you're listening and that you care, that they're presenting. That concludes my talking about the history of mime, the grammar of mime, and the use of mime in everyday life in making individual movement expressive. Life is a stage, and people are watching. Thank you for listening.